Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent uh-oh experiences in business.
Learn what their uh-oh cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again.
All right. Welcome, cohesive leaders. You are joined with Ben-Jamin Toy. Dr. Troy is not with us today, but I have the privilege of hosting Kevin Wayne Johnson. And so excited to be here today with our emerging leaders, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. And I'm grateful for the work that you all are doing in the trenches. It's making a difference.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. We start off every podcast interview with the same type of thing. Tell the audience something not on your resume that we would not find on your LinkedIn profile.
Wow. Well, because I've been a sports enthusiast all of my life, every 4 years, my family and I travel to the host city for the Summer Olympic Games.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason we do that is because it's just a thrill to see about 115 nations send their top 3 men and women athletes across 29 different sports, and just watching just how gifted they are up close and personal across the board.
So how many years have you been doing that?
Started in '96 in Atlanta, and last summer we were in Paris. And everything in between, with the exception of the year it was in Sydney. That's too far. We couldn't make that one. But and then, of course, Tokyo because of the pandemic. But we're already braced to go to LA in 2028. And that will probably be our last one, because then it goes back to Australia. And that's just
no, it's worth it. Australia is great. You'd make some day trips out of it and go to Brisbane and Melbourne and all that. I was there in January and February this year. So
wonderful.
But that is incredible. So which was we can unpack lessons in all of that too, I'm sure. But What was the most memorable experience? Doesn't have to be city or whatever. What was the most memorable experience you had with your family at an Olympics?
Well, because I'm also an amateur photographer, 2012 in London was really, really special for 2 reasons. Number one, London is one of my favorite international cities because I used to go back and forth on business there. So we're very familiar with the city and we have a lot of good friends there. But Usain Bolt, the men's sprinter, was in his prime, and the team broke a world record in the 4x100 meter relay. And he came right past where I was sitting, and I got an awesome photograph of him holding the Jamaican flag. And it was like, wow, it really, really made my day. All of the different sporting events are awesome, but there's always a special athlete or two. You know, Michael Phelps in the pool, Katie Ledecky, some of the sprinters in track and field. I mean, I could go on and on, but that was a really, really special moment.
Man, yeah, I need to make it a priority to go to one. And I love that you find those people have those things that they do and they do with their family. So, man, I've been to multiple cities after the Olympics and enjoyed those the venues they created, and like skied those slopes and all that kind of stuff, but never been to the Olympics. Wow, awesome.
Yeah, so I'll see you in Los Angeles in 2028.
2028, excellent. And I actually just got into pickleball, and so I've heard the rumor is that pickleball will get into it. One other topic, so that's pretty exciting. So, all right, next question, something unique we do here, and you're gonna probably mention it, but I'm gonna bring up that I am also on the John Maxwell team. I did my training back in 2017, so that's a whole other angle we can go down. But first, I want to know who you are. Tell us your identity, character traits, behaviors. How would others describe you? How do you aspire to be described as a person, as Kevin Wayne Johnson? Not any roles you have, no hats you're wearing, but you, Kevin, who are you?
Yeah, my top 3 core values are, and in order, number 1 is character. I always like to see myself as a man of character, and I would like to present myself not perfect, but a person of character who does what he says he's going to do, is where he says he's going to be, and starts on time. Character has everything to do with what people see on the outside because it's already on the inside. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is respect. Respect is a core value of mine because of my upbringing. I have a brother with a mental disability, and my youngest son, I have 3 sons. The youngest son is autistic. And I've seen all of my life where people who are different tend to get disrespected, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously, but it still happens. And so I'm the type of guy that will say something or do something when I see a person or a group of people disrespected. But what's more important, helping people to understand why I'm doing something and why I'm saying something. And then the third core value that I really live by is integrity. Integrity just means a lot to me in terms of just being able to trust. I put a lot of faith and trust in people. You know, as a business owner, I don't always ask other companies that I work with to sign a contract or a non-disclosure agreement because of how I'm built and how I've made and how I've created and how I was raised. I put a lot of trust and faith. Now, I don't do that with everybody, but typically I can discern where a person is coming from in terms of how they represent themselves. And I don't always ask to sign a contract. I'm like, I trust you. What are you charging for your services? That go. Now, if it doesn't work out and you let me down or you don't keep your word, then I just don't do business with you again and I move on. But those are the 3 core values that really describe who I am and what I'm all about.
Awesome. And it sounds like from the respect thing, you're the kind of guy that probably doesn't call people out to make them feel bad, but use it as a training lesson or teaching, and you know, the unawareness that people have. Sometimes trying to help people is that unintentional one, like, no, let them have their autonomy, right? But you never know sometimes when people are struggling. So that's always a situational time sometimes. But okay, great. So then what are the hats you wear? What are the roles that you have? Let's go through your career. Who are you with the roles that you've had?
All right. Well, let's start at home and then I'll move into the marketplace.
Perfect. Love it.
At home, a husband of 32 years. At home, a father of 3 sons, 29, 28, and 27. A goddaughter who's 36, and she has 2 daughters, 10 and 3. So those are my roles at home. I'm also a son. My dad is 88. He's doing very, very well, former Marine. He reminds me that he can still take me, and I use wisdom, and I let him believe that he can. In the workplace, after I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia, I matriculated to the Washington, D.C., Maryland area to start a career with the federal government. 1 year out of college, and I stayed for 34 years. And I did a lot of different roles: procurement, contracting, a lot of work with the military at the different military commands around the world, military readiness. I served as a chief of staff. So I had the blessed fortune of being able to lead as a frontline leader very early in my career, a mid-level leader about halfway through my career, and then my last 14 years as a senior level leader. I'm very, very fortunate. I was one of the leaders that stood up one of our nation's newest military commands, the U.S. Cyber Command. I was part of the leadership team that stood up that command many, many, many years ago. I retired 7 years ago from my 34-year career. And in this season of life, I run my company, the Johnson Leadership Group, where we provide leadership development training and executive coaching for government agencies, corporations, churches, nonprofits, and academia. I have a team of 10, and we do work here across the U.S. And abroad as well. So those are the different hats that I wear. I'm loving it. You can see that I'm smiling. I'm also very, very actively engaged in my church. I have served the local church as a deacon. as an associate pastor and as a senior pastor over the past 25 years. So life has been great. I smile a lot because I'm having a ball.
That's awesome. It's a great career, and I love that you intentionally started with roles at home.
Yep.
So one of the things that we do in our team building training workshops and things like that is even when we ask folks to talk about their wins, we don't give the category, and we find out if they're willing to talk about professional versus personal, and then we can talk about the psychological safety that's involved in that team if they're willing to talk about personal wins. And our roles and our hats change, and that's what people have to realize is that these other things. That's why we start with the I. Your character should be the same regardless on your roles, right? Mm-hmm. And when you understand that, because if you put all your identity into the job you're doing or anything that's circumstantial, you lose that, then who are you? And so we want to impress upon not even just the younger generation, people in general, you are more than the things you do. You get to choose who you are based on the actions you take. So that's awesome. Okay, right into the meat now. Although that's pretty meaty. I like that start there. What situation are you prepared to share with our listeners? Something specific that you messed up on, and the worse the better.
The worse the better. Well, I shared with you very briefly. I walked you through my career. That was sort of an executive summary. So when I completed as a mid-level employee with the federal government, I was a grade 13 at the time. I was probably about year 12 in my career. I was just completed the Executive Potential Program, a 12-month leadership executive preparation program for federal government employees. I was really fortunate to have been selected by my agency. Just a few months after I graduated, I received a promotion and uprooted my family from the Washington, D.C., Maryland area to New York because I became the regional chief procurement officer for the region for my agency. That was my first time stepping into this role where I would have this type of visibility and this type of responsibility. As I moved into the role, kind of had to learn as I go. And I went from a non-union culture to now a very strong Northeast United States of America union culture. And it was very different. So what happened to me, long story short, as a leader, as a manager, as a supervisor, I am now the enemy. I'm the enemy of the people for no reason, no other reason than the fact that I'm in a leadership position. You haven't got to know me. You haven't had a conversation with me. You haven't talked to me about my likes, my dislikes, my experiences, what it is I would like to achieve, how I'm here to help the people. Didn't matter. And what's interesting is that as time went on, more and more of the employees were testing me. They just wanted to see how I would respond to these different accusations and innuendos and rumors that they knew weren't true. But I was relatively young. So, we have this young guy here, right? Now, I did not realize, because no one told me, as a new manager coming into the region, I was supposed to sit down and have a conversation with the union president so that he would get to know me and size me up. No one ever told me that.
No one told you that.
Until after
Wow.
3 months went past. 3 months went past, and I'll never forget it. The guy's name was Frank. He was about 4'11", native New Yorker. Yep. And we sat down. He did everything he could to intimidate me. And I just pushed back. And what happened is when you push back on somebody that's an authority, somebody that's used to being in their position, there are ramifications and repercussions. So I had to deal with that for a little bit. But over time, not only did he, as the union president, and also the union steward that was assigned to my employees, over time, they got to know me. And they did find out, I'm not from this area. So I have a different philosophy, a different work ethic, a different mindset. I really am here to help the people. I want to develop them. I want to equip them. I want to pour into them. I want to get them to the right training assignments. I want to give them developmental opportunities. And it took a while, but they finally realized that Kevin Johnson is a little bit different, and he's here to help and to work with the employees. So the lesson that I learned from that experience that I share with other leaders is when you go into a very new culture, a new environment, a new job, a new atmosphere, kind of seek out, if you would, all of the leaders that are in charge and that are in control. And you kind of have to massage and help them to feel comfortable with who you are. Now, that doesn't mean to be fake or to not still be authentic and genuine, but it's going to help them and it's going to help us, because they now will become an ally on our behalf, because there's so much you just don't know. You don't know about this new area and this new culture. So it was a very, very interesting concept. I consider that as one of the top mistakes that I did make going into this new environment. I did seek out some of the leaders and they were on my side, but he was a very, very important person that I missed. And I had to deal with that for a while. He came around and his stewards came around. He had another steward that was 4'10".
Oh, wow.
That would come around and just create trouble. He's just asking the employee, is he treating you okay? Did he say good morning to you today?
Well, that's their job. That's their job.
To take any action. And over time, as I got to meet the president, the union president, and we developed a relationship, he moved that person out and brought somebody in who was a little bit more reasonable and a little bit more amicable. So that's my story.
So I would to define the I would almost call it as a ignorance as the new sheriff. Understanding that there's stakeholders already here, right? And you come in now, you may not have come in guns ablaze and kicking doors like some people do, right?
Right.
But one of the leaderships is to assess who you have, like know where they're at and everything. So that's a great lesson. My wife and I acquired a business about 7-8 years ago. And one of the things that we had to do was a goodwill tour. The previous owner had ruffled a lot of feathers with our neighbors in the area that it had to interact. And there was, it required us to sit down, let them know what we were doing. One person even started with, okay, first, let me take this knife out of my back, and so we had to do this, what we call the goodwill tour. And I think that's the great leadership lesson that you learn there, is that sit down with the stakeholders, also ask the questions. Like, would you have had the chance to ask your predecessor who to connect with? Or was there somebody there that knew this stuff that just was holding that information from you?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I do believe that the folks back in Washington, D.C. headquarters, they failed me by not giving me a heads up, because there was some history there. The gentleman that I actually reported into was also responsible for the other regional chief procurement officers in Chicago, San Francisco, and Atlanta. And the person in New York, he knew about him, but really didn't warn me. But then the people, of course, on my team that I inherited didn't give me a heads up either. It was one of those things like, let's see how this young pup handles things. We're not going to tell him about Frank.
Right.
So I think from both perspectives, if at least one group had given me a heads up, then I would have known to go in, because the union president, I believe him. He was really surprised that I didn't know. And nobody had given me a heads up, because he saw my style, he saw my demeanor and my personality, and he didn't say it, but his eyes and his facial expression gave me the impression, if you had known, you probably would have come. He didn't say it, but I could sense in his body language. So he probably knew something was going on. But it all worked out. I stayed in that role for about 3 years, and then I moved on to my next role.
I would only, on that side of it, though, that other folks should have come to you on the extreme ownership side of things. Here's the lesson is, it's still on us to always ask those questions, right? We have to ask the team, what do I not know that I need to know, right? Who should I talk to that I haven't talked to? Because sometimes that their mindset was the testing. There was all those things. And, you know, I can understand, you know, we probably have some folks that work for unions and you made, you know, some choices for your career for the stability. I get it. My first experience was doing an event in Vegas and getting chastised and run down by hotel staff trying to carry in a case of water. And just, wow. And I was operating an event with 400 people. And I'm like unloading a car, putting on a bell car. And they're like, what are you doing? You have to arrange for this to happen. And I'm like, but I can do it. Like, so it was, again, I didn't know to ask. I didn't know the thing. It just cost me an extra $100.
Yep.
You know, and so you learn, you know, those are the questions I now, when I go to new locations, I have to find out what is the makeup of the hotel or the conference center or whatever, but didn't even know to ask because it was a brand new thing for me, right. Being Pennsylvania South the majority of my life now. So totally great. Okay. So what did it cost you? So what was actually a opportunity cost or physical cost that this waiting of 3 months, what did it cost you?
Well, it rattled relationships for sure. So folks that could have been in my corner and should have been in my corner are not. And then it also kind of raised my level of suspicion as it relates to other colleagues who could have and should have advised me that this is one of the things that we do as a new leader coming into the region. And so the trust factor was eroded, at least temporarily. Yeah. The ability to really have confidence in other people, my colleagues, was eroded, and it had to be rebuilt. But then it kind of raised my eyebrows, if you would, as it relates to the whole dynamic around the relationship in general between the leadership, the employees, and the union. It kind of felt like it was always a battle. And coming from a different environment, I'm trying to convince people unsuccessfully that it doesn't have to be this way. We can collaborate, we can partner, we can cooperate, get some great things done, but that's just not the way it worked. Not at that time in that part of the country, in that agency. So that was really the toll that was taken. And then, of course, the way that I'm built, there's some mental challenges, there's some physical challenges, and there's also some mental challenges that's embedded into all of that, because you kind of worry, well, what happened to the employees? And you know, they're paying all this money to belong to a union, but they don't really need to as long as I'm here leading them, because you don't need all that protection. But if you've been working there all your life and that's all you know, then you're not going to convince people to save some money. So again, after the 3-year assignment was done, it was a lessons learned. I was able to appoint the deputy to now take over the leadership as I moved on to a new assignment. And it all kind of worked out. So
how did you avoid doing that again? So when you moved locations at some point, new leadership positions. How did you apply what you learned? How did you apply what you learned?
The same thing that I share with all of our emerging leaders across this great land is, as a new leader coming into an organization that's already running, already operating, has already been established, do not come in thinking that it's time to make a whole lot of changes. Have a conversation with the team that's already there, get some ideas, pick their brain, be collaborative, use the words we and our as opposed to I and me, get some buy-in. Yeah, some changes and revisions and modifications probably do need to take place, but not immediately, because innately for all of us, all 8 billion plus people on the planet, we do not like change. And so knowing that, but also recognizing that from time to time change might be needed, take your time. Don't rush into it. Ask other people their perspectives and their viewpoints. What's working? What's not working? What do you think? Here's what I'm thinking about doing. What give me some feedback. That's the lesson that I learned, that I take out of this. I tell you, people will vote with their feet, i.e., they will leave if you keep putting all these changes on people. So that's the biggest lesson, not only that I learned and I implemented and executed, but now that I teach and I instruct and I facilitate. Unless you're the type of leader that's hired specifically to radically change an organization, and that happens. But what happens is everybody in the organizations already knows why you were hired and what you're there to do. But that's the exception and not the norm.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a great lesson. When my wife and I bought the other company, the first year we didn't change anything, and the next year we made some changes and became profitable and all the things. But we had to see status quo, basically, right, before we knew what we could gut. We were watching the gauges and the car move before we popped open the hood, and it made a world of difference. We're like, okay, this can change, and evaluating well. And especially when they're responsible, that's the way we've always done it. Well, let's dig in a little more. That's the whole example of the at Thanksgiving, the little girl sees the mom cut the ends of her ham off. It's like, Mom, why'd you cut the ham off? I don't know. That's the way Grandma always did it. Grandma, why'd you cut the ends off? Well, that's how my mom did it. Okay, great, Grandma. Why'd you do it? I never had a pan big enough for my ham. So sometimes we just pass on these traditions and don't even know why they're done anymore without a reason. So you can't change things until you know why. Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's a great. I love that one. It's so simple, and it's like we've been doing things for generations. I mean, how much ham have you wasted, right? Because of a need that was back, 50, 60 years ago, and so I love it, man. That's so good. Well, Kevin, it's been a great conversation. You've dropped a lot of nuggets. This is great. How do folks? Well, actually, what is the question you thought that I would ask that I didn't ask?
What is your biggest success story?
Excellent. Okay, so that's where this is a different turning of a podcast, right? So people often come in just talking about those positives and all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm torn. Do I still ask the question? But I'm going to ask it. I'm going to. If you were to share your biggest success story, let's hear it. Let's go with it.
So here's the reason why I do that. I'm very intentional and I'm very deliberate. I always encourage emerging leaders to never start out your introduction by talking about your achievements and your accomplishments, because the word success is subjective. It means different things to different people. If you put 20 people in a room and you just put them in a round table and just ask each of the 20 people, how do you define success? You will probably get 15 different answers. Five will probably be similar. So I define success by making sure that I always treat my wife with the utmost respect and that I be as good of a father as I possibly can to my 3 sons.
That's awesome.
To me, it has nothing to do with the zip code you live in, the clothes you wear, how much money is in my bank account, the car that I drive. And it's a subjective type question because it means different things to different people. Everything starts at home. My leadership journey starts at home. I watched my dad as a U.S. Marine. I watched my mom. She's the reason that I ended up going into the federal government and staying for 34 years. She encouraged me to do it because I watched her example. And so that's why when you ask me that, I raise that because it's always a very interesting concept. But never introduce yourself for the very first time talking about your achievements and your accomplishments. That comes later. let's talk about who you really are. And it really does start at home.
You resonate with the way we started this talk, right? And we call that connection before content. And within our workshops and our training, we teach folks how to do this. Even for the introverts, we are an introvert-friendly, non-rah-rah people. Like, if you don't want to talk to folks, there are skills and techniques you can develop. There are questions that you may want to know about people. I want to know about your favorite sunset that you ever had, your best memory on a meal. I don't want to talk about your sports teams, the weather. And if we can push the what do you do question to number 5 or later, there's going to be a whole lot more of a conversation about that, because you got to know somebody first. There was a period of time where I would define success by having 2 meals in that day. So, there was, a year into running my business, I was home free, meaning I don't want to trivialize homelessness. I had a car, 2 cars technically, but no place to lay my head every night consistently for about 9 months.
Wow.
By my own accord, my own decisions. And that was one of the best years of my life. But success was, yay, I got to eat that day. So it was a character revealing. I don't want it to say defining, because it was in me, but it revealed what I was willing to do. Now, I didn't have responsibilities, and so I'm not going to coach or ever tell somebody, hey, depending on your life, you just go for it, right? I quit my job and started my business with no plan, no money, no nothing. And, things ran out, later. And then it got better. So, but that was a great question. Great conversation there. How do folks get a hold of you? So, we are mainly audio based. If some folks be on the YouTube, they'll see some captions here as well. But how do folks get a hold of Kevin Wayne Johnson?
Well, the name of my company is the Johnson Leadership Group. So the website is www.thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com. And the email address is Kevin, first name Kevin, at thejohnsonleadershipgroup.com as well. And you'll see everything that we do. You'll see the team, the different events we have coming up, the clients that we work with, all of the different services that we provide, executive coaching, leadership development training. And we even have embedded in there a complimentary 20-minute coaching session if anybody would like to sign up as well. So that's the best way to reach out, right through the website. We do our best to get back with you within 48 hours, and look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Thank you much. Now we're going to end our show the way we end every cohesive leader or cohesion culture program, is that you don't need to know everything. You just need to be teachable.